Jesus' conversation with the crowd there in Capernaum, the people who had participated earlier in the feeding of the 5,000, continues. They have apparently insisted that Jesus do some greater sign that would warrant their faith in him as he has demanded. And they have appealed to Moses, who was able to provide, as they see it, for 40 years, manna in the wilderness. And of course, Jesus indicates to them that Moses didn't provide that manna, that was God who did it. And then in a rather swift move, he says that is the same God who provides the true bread from heaven, now in the present tense. And this leads to the statement that Jesus continues to make here in verse 33. We have ho, the article, masculine singular nominative, gar, postpositive, for the, artos, bread. We've seen this, of course, before in this context. The bread, to, theou, the bread of God. Esten, from ami, I am, third person singular, present active indicative. The bread of God is the, same as the word here, it's the definite article, masculine singular nominative. The bread of heaven is the, and then katabainon. This is from katabino. It means I go down. This is a participle. It's the present active participle. Nominative, singular, masculine. And so it refers either to the bread, which is actually in the sentence, or it may actually be referring to Christ himself. And there's a bit of a discussion that continues among commentators as to which is intended. The bread of God is the coming down, ek to urinu, the coming down out of heaven. Ek preposition takes the genitive as we find it here, out of heaven, and life, zoane, deduce. This is also a participle in the same construction as this one. So the coming down from heaven and the giving life to the world. And if it's the bread, then it's the bread that comes down from heaven and gives life to the world. However, as we see the bread of life discourse unfolding, of course, Jesus will sooner or later identify himself as that bread. And so one way or another, whatever the particular grammatical construction is in this verse, we know that eventually it's going to lead to that conclusion, that the one who comes down from heaven is Christ himself, that he is, among the many metaphors that are used to describe him in the New Testament, the bread of heaven. This bread comes down from heaven, and this bread is calculated to give life to the world. And of course, in this sense, we have something quite similar to John 3:16 being revisited in the content of this verse.